Greetings shippers and welcome back to another episode of Fic Rec Friday, the series where we share a bunch of fanfic recs with each other. This week we're gonna have a wonderful, random, eclectic array of fics, so get ready. Before we get started, if you haven't already, please do follow on social media to stay up to date, know when we're streaming, and of course just come over and chit chat about fandom. It's a good time, I swear. And I will be letting you know, for those who are interested, when our next To Trust an Incubus stream will be happening. I know some of you really need to know all about Kenta. Of course, because this is gonna be Fic Recs, we have to do a bit of a disclaimer. You can expect to see any type of fic on this series. From the dark, to the obscure, to pairings that people may deem problematic, to rival ships, to fluff, to overplayed tropes, to pretty much anything. So it must be reiterated that this is not a bashing space. If a fic doesn't sound like it will be for you, hopefully one of the other recs will, or one of the many recs that people leave down in the comments below. There is absolutely no need to seek out writer, rec, or reader for harassment. This is all about sharing and spreading all of the fandom that's out there, and there is quite a variety. Different strokes for different folks. With all of that, let's get started. Our first fic today is going to take us over to a fandom that is incredibly large when you think about the fact that the series that spawned it only aired over the course of 3 years, and yet had 8 seasons. We're of course talking about Voltron. There are a lot of passionate feelings about Voltron, particularly at the time of this recording, as Season 8 recently aired. That, however, is the discussion for another day. What we will be discussing is one of the many fics for one of the many pairings that have arisen from this universe. Of course, you know, because it's this series, that it's probably not going to be one of the dominant ships. If you were guessing that it wasn't Clance or Sheath, well then you are 100% correct. This is going to be a Lotor fic. There are many people who feel that the Allura-Lotor romance had promise and was not handled appropriately within the show, particularly post season 6 and 7, and most recently 8. As a result, when it comes to this couple, there are many fixits that one can find within the fandom. While some have abandoned their fics since the pairing is no longer canon, and canonicity is very important to many Voltron fans, there are still a great many fics in progress and up and complete. Not as many as some of the other pairings, but enough that there is a variety to sift through. This fic is a fix-it fic, and it takes place after season 7. While people were predicting what exactly was going to occur in season 8 and the arcs for the characters and what they hoped for them, and a lot of people were hoping that Allura and Lotor would get back together, and that at the very least, Lotor would have a redemption arc. This fic is called Explorer of All Universes by Garbage_Dono. 5 chapters, word count 29,143. This is a gen romance fic, and it deals with the idea of Allura hopping across universes to find Lotor, as she feels that she didn't hear him out and has tremendous guilt about leaving him. As a result, this fic revisits a concept that many were intrigued by when it was first introduced in earlier seasons, that of the parallel universes, and the idea of what kind of other universes could be out there within this multiverse. This fic plays with that, taking Allura to a variety of alternate universes, and seeing herself and Lotor in each, and what that means for their relationship, and also what she learns about herself in the process. It also utilizes Slav very well. There is a fondness in the Voltron fandom for Slav, and much disappointment that he was not more utilized. This fic definitely makes up for that. So if you love a good multiverse fic, a dimension hopping fic, an angsty romance fic, well then this fic is definitely for you. It feels very much in tone and is no way bashing any of the characters. It's not about elevating certain characters or ships above others, it's simply about telling this story about Allura trying to find Lotor and the love that they shared, and how that doesn't make her a weaker person. It's well crafted and an interesting read. The Lotor side of the fandom is currently a quieter side, so if you're a bit intimidated by the things that you've heard, it might be a good place to ease in. Also, there are good pockets of the Voltron fandom, one just has to find them, and sometimes people luck out right away and find them instantly, and indeed some people have had positive experiences the entire way through. And especially post-series, the fandom will most likely calm down as things go on. And as new fans now begin watching the series, for some people we're waiting for it to conclude to watch it through. So there is potential to go through the series with a whole bunch of people watching it for the first time. Fandom is intriguing and everybody is always at a different place. It's part of what keeps it so interesting. Next, we're hopping to the superhero fandom, because of course we are. If you follow me on Twitter, then you will have seen that I posted a fan comic of the pairing of Nightwing and Deathstroke, and because I stumbled across that comic, I then stumbled across one of my older favorite fics. And I realized, well, I have to wreck it. This pairing is Dick Grayson and Slade Wilson. It has a couple of ship names. Some crudely call it Dickstroke, others call it Sladen. However, Sladen is much more associated with the Teen Titans animated series verse, although some do use it for all of them, because it is a more pleasant sounding name to say. Also because in the Teen Titans series, Deathstroke could not go by that name and was called Slade instead because it sounded less aggressive, as the network felt that Deathstroke was too violent sounding of a name for the demographic they were trying to reach. However, it is often associated with the relationship wherein Deathstroke gets together with Dick while he's still Robin, even if he is an older Robin, as there are many different entry points into this pairing, which very much matters when it comes to this pairing, for the relationship between Dick and Slade has changed quite a bit over time, and depending upon which canon one is working with.
Bad day, Nightwing. It's about to get worse.
This fic is dealing with post-Crisis, but pre-Infinite Crisis, pre-New 52 canon, specifically the canon of the new Teen Titans and the first Nightwing comics run. In that run, there was a lot that was played with these two's relationship, particularly how Slade viewed Dick, and this interesting desire to be his mentor, and just this tension that was always there between them, and yet somehow they at times appeared to be on equal footing. It was a very interesting relationship, and many people did take a shipping element out of it. This fic is part 1 of a loosely connected series. It is called To Conciliate a Tiger by Ruby Nye. 1 chapter, word count 6,029. This fic takes place post Nightwing's rape, post Blockbuster's murder, post Joey's death, but pre the Renegade arc. If you are not into comics, that probably all meant absolutely nothing. But suffice it to say, there is history in the build up to this fic, but it is not necessarily required to get into it because the atmosphere is set within the story itself, wherein Dick needs to go undercover for an operation, but he needs help to do so. And as a result, he enlists the help of Slade for a price. For Slade has had his eye on Dick Grayson for quite some time, and uses Dick's slight dip in self-esteem to get what he wants, but also because he's concerned about him. It's an interesting dynamic. Despite how it sounds, it's not a dubcon fic, and it's very much an introspective piece, particularly for Dick Grayson. It is a very smutty fic. All 3 in this series are. So if you're here for some Dick Grayson angst, some smut, and this pairing, and particularly dealing with this era of canon, then this fic is for you. And all of the fics work together so nicely. Part 2 is called A Darker Stripe. 1 chapter, word count 3,752. All of these, while they are connected, can also be read alone. This one takes place within the Renegade arc, an arc wherein Dick Grayson is working for Slade and helping him train his daughter, Rose Wilson. This deals with a darker Dick Grayson, who is very much given in to the bad thoughts that he's been harboring about himself, and has thrown himself into his relationship with Slade. Again, smut. The third part is called Twist in the Tale. 1 chapter, word count 3,937. This takes place post the Renegade arc and incorporates some of the canons from issues 1 to 4 of Infinite Crisis. But again, that's not really required to know. All one needs to know is that Dick Grayson is back to being Nightwing and he's feeling good about himself again, and he's ready to put all of that Renegade stuff, all of that bargaining behind him. However, he's not entirely ready to give up Slade just yet, and Deathstroke's not exactly ready to let him go either. It's about the two renegotiating their relationship and what terms they are on post sharing this intimate relationship and a partnership. It's an intriguing dynamic. It really works well within the canon setup and feels like something that could be happening in the shadows, particularly if you are a shipper of these two, as they are very much in tone, especially Deathstroke. Deathstroke can be a hard one for some writers, but Ruby Nye portrays him very well. There are some who may be squicked out by this pairing because of the age gap, but you are very much dealing with an adult Dick Grayson, as he has firmly been Nightwing for quite some time at this point. Another brief mention of squick factor for certain readers is that this deals with a universe wherein the idea is that Deathstroke doesn't fully understand what the relationship is between Bruce and Dick. Indeed, this is played with by many characters in the new Teen Titans arc, where they're not exactly sure what the relationship there is and how Dick Grayson exactly feels about him. Something that they appear to be working through in the new Titans series, new at the time of this recording. So it plays with the idea that Deathstroke appears to believe that potentially the relationship between Bruce and Dick is sexual, which in this series it is not, but he doesn't exactly appear to know that, and Dick doesn't exactly bother to correct him. So if that kind of thing squeaks you out, be forewarned. For forewarned is forearmed. Next, sticking in the superhero fandom, but the last one, only two, well, only four. We're hopping over to Marvel and into a missing scene fic and an angst fic. Only angst. While scrolling through bookmarks on my phone, I landed on this one that I had saved just recently after going to see Captain America: Civil War. Now, many people came out with different viewpoints after that movie. Whether it was good or bad aside, a lot of people were trying to decide whether they were Team Cap or Team Iron Man. However, for me, the scene that struck me the most was the end fight scene.
Sorry, Tony. You know I wouldn't do this if I had any other choice. But he's my friend. So was I.
Since when? Since when? I want receipts. Humor at Tony declaring that they were friends aside, the end fight scene wherein Captain America, spoilers for those who are behind, for everybody's on a different stage in their Marvel journey, so if you don't want to hear anything, one moment. Just close your ears for one moment. The scene wherein Captain America brings down his shield on where Tony's arc reactor used to be was devastating for me. It was a huge betrayal that still impacted me despite the fact that the series had never actually shown their friendship really on screen. Thematically, what it meant still impacted me. And so I read many fics around that scene, and this one is one of my favorites. This fic is called Bitter End by Alizan. One chapter, word count 1103. This is a character death fic. This fic deals with a universe wherein Tony Stark never got rid of his arc reactor and is very much still there, and that Steve wasn't really aware of this when he brought his shield down. This fic is angsty. It gives you all of the feelings, and it gives you guilt-ridden Steve without bashing Steve, which is nice because post-Civil War there was a lot of character bashing on all sides, even characters who were only in the film for a few moments, like Sharon, or as some callously call her, Captain America's beard. So this fic is very much for angst lovers. If you just want to live in an angsty moment and just ramp up the consequences for what happened in that film, then this is the fic for you. Now, character death fics are not for everybody. Some find them much too upsetting or just too dark. However, some find them to be a good outlet, especially as if the characters are alive and well in canon, then they don't see the harm in it. It is very much up to the reader's discretion. Side note, how did you feel about him not having the arc reactor? Because I'm a huge fan of Tony with arc reactor, so just curious about your thoughts on it. Fic 4 is taking us over to a series that we have visited many a time on this channel, especially because of the new trilogy. You can guess what it is. It's Star Wars. That's right, the very contentious fandom of Star Wars. Now, on my fandom travels, I stumbled across several articles about how Reylos are what is keeping the Star Wars franchise alive, this modern iteration of it. And then I also stumbled across a Waffle House that had created a Reylo waffle, wherein the peanut butter and chocolate chip chips on the waffle were described as force bonded together, but being perfectly blended. And of course, that led me to think about some of my favorite Star Wars fics for the new trilogy, which of course means we get to play everybody's favorite game. What pairing is it? Is it Stormpilot? Is it Reylo? Is it Finray? It's none of those things. It's not. This is a Jedi Stormpilot fic. That's right, OT3. Now for this fic, one needs to travel back in time to 2015 after The Force Awakens first came out. Now while there was contention about how people felt about it, whether it was good or not, whether certain characters were well handled or not, on the whole there was still an aura of excitement, and many people really took to the new characters. From many, there was a lot of love for these characters, and also a corresponding amount of vitriol, as the fandom has proved to be quite polarizing. This was intensified by the press tours. Like the MCU before it, Disney employed a heavy press tour push, putting many of the actors together in different combinations. And one of the more popular ones was putting the actors for Poe, Finn, and Rey together in interviews. And this led to some very fun, cute moments, which for many helped bolster an OT3. As for certain shippers, this extra material can help bolster the relationship they feel with the actors' fictional counterparts, and also, in a roundabout way, provides shipping fodder. While Stormpilot was the undisputed ship to come out of The Force Awakens, with Reylo as a close second, surging to prominence after after the second film, and the validation that that second film provided, there were others who didn't feel the need to choose between their ships or pairings because they could simply pair all of their favorite characters together. For multi and poly shippers exist in fandom and often go unnoticed by many, and hence for many, Storm Pilot became Jedi Storm Pilot. For those who felt that all three of these characters would work wonderfully together, and that they all balanced each other out and provided something unique that you couldn't get out of one of the pairings that paired two of the characters together, Finn Ray, Damar Ray, or Storm Pilot. This fic is called With Abandon by Stratosphere. One chapter, word count 3,203. This fic is also a 5x fic, a format that was very popular in the mid-2010s and has dwindled slightly, but people still employ it. The format is basically 5 times one action occurred and 1 time it didn't. In this fic, we're dealing with food. The gang getting together through shared experiences of food, eating together, learning recipes. It's very sweet, very domestic, and also very gen. This is not a smut fic. This is a getting together, getting to know each other fic, and realizing that one wants to be in a polyamorous relationship fic. It's a lot of fun and focuses on character and expanding the interpersonal relationships in the world. It's not a big, expansive piece, but it doesn't have to be. It's about these three finding each other. So if you need some tooth-rotting fluff, especially after the angst from the last fic, this fic might be for you. Which leads us to our 5th fic, a Femslash rare pair that's going to take us into the Disney fandom and into an old book fandom. Get ready, you're not ready for how rare this pair is. This is going to take us to the 101 Dalmatians fandom. Oh yes. And we're going to be dealing with the pairing of Cruella de Vil and Anita. Think about it. This fic is called Dearly Beloved Old Schoolmate by Vassallady. One chapter, word count 1,829. Now 101 Dalmatians, the Disney animated film, came out in 1961 and was based off of the book by Dodie Smith, which came out in 1956. This fic takes a decent amount from the book's canon, such as the last names of the characters, which are different in the film and in the book, and also the backstory between Cruella and Anita, that being that they went to the same school together. Now, in the book it is specified that they were not friends or very much friendly. Instead, she is a dearly beloved schoolmate. However, this fic plays with the idea that they were more than that, and that indeed Cruella was Anita's first love, and that she saw her change from a girl that she loved into someone cruel, and someone who would eventually try and skin all her puppies.
Sweet, simple Anita. I know. This horrid little house is your dream castle. And poor Roger is your bold and fearless Sir Galahad.
Oh, Cruella.
It's a very good coming-of-age fic, dealing with the idea that your love is not requited and that someone is changing into somebody that you don't exactly like anymore. It's also a wonderful bit of expansion into a universe that has a very small fandom, and one does not exactly expect to find this kind of pairing fic in this fandom. But here we have a wonderful rare pair. Had you ever even conceived of this pairing? Do you have a pair this rare? If so, you have to let me know what it is. You have to tell me. I want to know. This week, unfortunately, we do not have a fan rec. Baby Shipper has been under the weather, and so I have not had time to read any new fics. But you know what that means. That means that next week it's gonna be all fan rec. You have been leaving me some wonderful recs. I've seen a bunch of favorites on my last video, and also there are a bunch of new emails. So I'm excited to go through the fics that I have and rec some of your favorites back to all of you. There is a time-traveling Hermione getting together with a young Sirius Black fic that has been recced to me 3 separate times by 3 different people. So I need to read it at this point. There are a couple of others that just have such amazing descriptions or just pairings that I need to go read them. I'm looking forward to it. For what is the holidays for? Spending time with family? No. Reading fics you haven't had time to read, of course. I hope that you enjoyed this week's recs, and if you check anything out, let me know what you thought of it, and keep leaving your recs down below. Who knows, if I have room, I might even take some from this video and put it into next week's as well. We say 5 fics, but it's often more than 5. There were more than 5 today, and there will be more than 5 again. Sharing all the fics. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend it discussing fanfics with me. I always appreciate it. There are, as always, more videos coming soon, so if you haven't already, please please do subscribe and hit that bell notification so that you never miss a vid. They're always coming sporadically. You're not sure what you're gonna get, except on Fridays, which is Fic Rec Friday. I will, of course, see all of you again soon, and until then, let's get to the outro. Bye-bye. This has been Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Special thanks to all of my patrons, names on the side, for helping to make these videos possible. There are, as always, more videos coming soon, so until then, stay tuned, for there are as many ships out there as there are stars in the sky.